Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today it's going to be the update to the Yogi build, the Bow Stamina Warden build for the Flames of Ambition DLC. Now this was first introduced in Somerset, where Bow became 2 pieces rather than 1, meaning you could use an arena set and 2 5-piece sets, or 2 5-piece sets in a monster set. Whichever way you want to go around it, it was possible. Now this is very suitable for all manner of different content, including the hardest stuff, but it's very different to most. It's not in the face of the enemy, it's at range, and it's very useful in that position and is designed as such. If you are a new player or if you're an experienced one, if you want to play range, this is for you. So if you want to see some more of this, stay tuned, it is coming right up. Now, first of all, of course, we're going to go into the stats, pop a potion, put our buffs and bonuses on and all that good stuff. Now, we are on currently 13,300 max magicka, 26,700, almost 800 max health, and 32.8k max stamina. Our stamina recovery is 1567, so almost 1.6k there, and our crit and weapon damage are not quite right. So on 4k weapon damage and 57% crit chance, that is going to go up a substantial amount. We're on 12.9k resistance across spell and physical, but our flat stats towards weapon damage and crit are going to go up a lot. So our weapon damage will hit roughly around sort of 5-6k depending on the rotation at the time, depending on the fight, depending on buffs and bonuses. And our crit is actually going to hit over 80k. Depending on the version of the setup you use, but of course that is going to be very important once you're in the fight. You have to actually keep up your active buffs and bonuses to acquire the nice shiny stats. Now there are 2 variations to this. One is with a Thief Munderstone, over 80%. One is with a Shadow Munderstone, over 70%. So if your group is very optimized, you have all the shiny stuff you need, you can go with the Shadow. If you don't have all the stuff you need, you're solo, you're in groups, you're in trials with people you don't know, Thief all day long. Now food wise, you can use the flat stuff or recovery stuff. If you choose the flat stuff, you'll have much more health and a very high stam pool, but your recovery is low, so you might have to heavy attack occasionally depending on which race you choose. Spoiler, some races never run out of juice. However, if you do choose to use the no health food, as I like to call it, you will have a flat stam increase, you will have high recovery, you can basically keep up your rotation all day long and you don't have to micromanage your resources. The choice is yours, but survival is at stake. So now we're going to go into the skills. I'm going to explain every single one of these, where they come from, what to morph them to, how to use them, and why they're effective to the build. If you want to skip this, it's entirely up to you. But of course, if you do, you might miss some very important information. So it's at your own risk. Anyway, first of all is Bull Netch. Now this is in the Animal Companion skill line. 4th ability to unlock, starts off as Betty Netch, morph it to Bull Netch. This will give you stamina recovery. It doesn't show in your max stats, but it will give you recovery over 25 seconds, almost 5k stamina back over that period of time, and it will give you major brutality and sorcery, increasing your weapon damage and spell damage by 20%, and every 5 seconds that this persists, you will remove a negative effect. And this is free. Keep it on your front bar. It does have passives applied to it, which we'll come to later, but it's a very good stamina upkeep for doing basically nothing. Now, we do have major brutality here, but we also have it in our potions. That is a negative in some cases, I guess, because they don't stack, but the potions don't give major sorcery, which will actually benefit if you choose to go certain ways with the build. But essentially, the recovery is what we really need this to. It's a free buff, why not? Next is Poison Injection. Now I know most builds have this on the back bar, but we do not. Based on the setup we have, based on the gear we are choosing to use, this is on the front bar on purpose. It's the 5th ability in the Bow skill line, starts off as Poison Arrow, morph it to Poison Injection. Initially, yes, it will do direct damage, but once it has fired, it will persist with a 10-second damage over time poison ability that will get more aggressive the lower the target's health. So after 50%, the lower they are, the more damage it will do. It's a passive execute, and it's a very nice damage over time throughout. Keep this up 100% of the time. It's going to help you a lot when it comes to your actual gear setup. So bear in mind, this must not run out. Now, next is not an active ability. This is not something that we run all the time. This is a situational skill, but it does have a very nice passive. So what we need to do here is go to the Fighters Guild skill line. It is actually the first ability you unlock very, very early on. Starts off as Silver Bolts, morph it to Silver Shards. So while this is not your main spam ball, this is something that you will use in area of effect situations. If there are more than one enemy in the fight, spam this. If it's just one enemy, obviously stick to your main spam ball. When I say more than one, I mean usually like a trash pull. So 3 to 10. If it's one boss and one ad, you don't necessarily have to use this. But if it's a mass pull, definitely use this over your main spam ball. It does have passives attached to it. We'll come to that later. Next up is Bird of Prey. This is actually in the Animal Companion skill line. Now, you don't have to activate this ever, unless you want the 6-second Major Expedition bonus, which is hit or miss because you can dodge roll with a bow and do that anyway. But this will give you minor berserk for being on your bar. So if your healers can't reach you because you're range, you can have minor berserk all the time. And there is an Animal Companion's passive that will increase your overall damage that is tied to this. So even if you never activate it, even if you always have minor berserk, this will boost your damage for everything you do. We'll come to that when we get to the passive later. Now, your main spammable overall is Lethal Arrow. This is in your bow skill line. It is the first ability you unlock, so very, very early on. Starts off as Snipe, morph it to Lethal Arrow. The reason we've chosen this morph is because it does poison damage and guaranteed applies a poison status effect straight away. So every time we activate this, we get a 6-second damage over time poison ability. It's going to be constant throughout our entire rotation. It hits very, very hard. It was reduced time-wise, so it's now under a second to cast. You have to be very careful when you time this with your light attacks, but it hits really, really hard. This is our bread and butter for our bow build. We want to hit hard with direct damage with a bow skill, and this is the one you use. Now, remember when I said AoE situations? You swap this for this. Silver Shards in AoE, Lethal Arrow, everything else. That's the only thing you ever need to change on this front bar. During your rotation, you keep everything exactly the same, but you only use this when there's ads. You only use this when there aren't. World Guardian is our main ultimate on both bars. This is the Animal Companion ultimate. You need level 12 to unlock this. Starts off as Feral Guardian, morph it to Wild Guardian. The other one is scaled off of Magicka and spell damage, not stamina and weapon damage. Basically, this will hit your target repeatedly, and it's a big, chunky bear known as Yogi, obviously. Now, your bear will hit all the time, but when you activate the ultimate itself, it will do a really big hit, and it can crit and all that good stuff as well. So the more bonuses you have applied to it at the time, the more beneficial it's going to be, and the lower the health of the target, the more aggressive this gets. It says 13k there, 100% extra damage at low health is what, 26k? Way off. You start adding buffs and bonuses that can go in excess of 150k plus. Your bear is your bread and butter ultimate. Keep it on both bars, otherwise it will die. You have to double bar this. Now, back bar is quite simple. We don't do too much here. So first of all is Ring of Preservation. This is a swap out. So if you go to the Fighters Guild skill line, you start with Circle of Protection, morph it to Ring of Preservation. While on the spot, this will give you a heal every 0.5 seconds rather, and for your group as well. And will give everyone minor protection and minor endurance, increasing their stamina recovery and reduction to damage taken. It's static. If you move, you lose it. So you could swap out, if you preferred, to Vigor, morph it to Resolving Vigor, if you want the selfish, only one person, very fast-paced heal, or morph it to Echoing Vigor if you want the longer duration, same heal but over a longer period of time, but can help your group as well. The choice is yours, but there are Fighters Guild passives that do benefit this if you do have it on your bar. They're very minimal. You're probably not going to see much of a difference with it, but it's a case of do you want it or not. It's up to you. Now, next is also in the Animal Companion skill line. Third ability to unlock starts off as Swarm, morph it to Growing Swarm. Put this here. Now, This is a stamina based ability that does damage over time in the form of a bleed, which yes can apply hemorrhage, which minor mangles the target so that they have 10% less health if they are not a boss or a rather large mini ad. So most targets. But this will also do damage in the area of effect as well, every 2 seconds, damaging nearby targets, and apply minor vulnerability to the target, increasing all the damage that you and your group do to that target by 5%. So keep this active. It will do damage over time to the initial target, but also spread to nearby targets, even if they run away. And buffs the damage to your group. Subterranean Assault was changed somewhat. Also, Animal Companion skill line. There's a theme going on here. If you activate this, it will take 3 seconds, and once it fires, it will do area of effect damage. Big burst. And then 3 seconds later, it will do it again, doing poison damage both times. Now, this is a frontal AoE, not a circular around you radius AoE, so be very mindful of that. You do have to be looking in the direction that it fires, but it's very, very powerful indeed. We're going to use this once every rotation. Next is Bird of Prey again. This is on both bars for the Minor Berserk for both bars, and of course the Expedition if you need it. But there are passives involved in this as to why we take it. You don't need Minor Berserk if it's already covered by your group, but there are passives, and we're not using this skill slot for anything else, so why not? Next is Arrow Barrage or Endless Hail. Now the reason for this is dependent on your ability. So starts off as Volley, morph it to Arrow Barrage. This will do damage over time, over 8 seconds, but it technically lasts 10 as a skill because you do have a 2-second wind-up delay where nothing happens. Now, the rotation itself is quite fast-paced, but it's not quite 8 seconds. It's actually about 10. So a couple of seconds off is not too bad as long as your glyph is on time, but if you're not very good with rotation, it can get a bit tricky. You can miss some valuable seconds, and it can make or break your overall DPS output because you might not fire your back bar glyph on time. So, if you're not very good with your rotation, change this to Endless Hail. You'll have a 10-second duration with a 2-second gap rather than an 8-second duration with a 2-second gap, which means it will line up quite nicely and your glyph will have more consistency. The choice is yours. And of course, the ultimate, Double Barred, Double Bear. Easy peasy. Now, passives. These are very important. Animal Companion, of course. First of all, if you are using an Animal Companion skill and it ends, you heal. So, your Bullnetch at the front here, if it dies, as in finishes, or you reapply it, it counts as ended. So you heal. Same with Shulks, same with Fetcherflies, which is the Growing Swarm. Any of these kind of things, or if the pet dies for whatever reason, this will heal you. So every single time, in fact, the most efficient way to apply this is this or this. These two here. Whenever you recast it, you're going to get a heal because the last one ran out. Keep that. Make sure you take advantage of it. It can crit too. When you cast an Animal Companion ability while you are in combat, you generate full ultimate. This can happen once every 8 seconds. So every 8 seconds, if you cast this, or this, or this, which we will, every rotation, one of them is going to happen, you will gain more ultimate, which is very, very handy considering our ultimate is only 75. Increases the Magicka and Stam recovery by 12% for if you have a companion ability slotted on your bar. Now, regardless of whether we do have these in really weird shapes and forms, the bear is double barred, the bear counts. Even if you put 5 different skills on this bar and the other and didn't have any companion abilities whatsoever, this would still count. So we've got that both times. And this increases the damage done if you have animal companion ability slots on your bar. So for each one, it's 2%. So 1, 2, 3 on the back bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back bar, you tend to have less damage most of the time unless you're on a Bobo build, but we're not on the back for that long, so we'll take the bonus anyway. But on the front bar, we do have it 6%, 2% for each. There are other passives that come into play here, but we'll get to those in a moment. This is a very good flat damage bonus across the board to everything that you do while you're inside your rotation. Green balance is not massively important. Yes, of course, you could use Bursting Vines to heal your pet and you at the same time. You could also use Fungal Growth and morph that into Soothing Spores, which is a stamina morph of it, and you can actually heal for yourself and allies in front of you, which is quite nice. But we're not using any of those strictly. What we're really using is Vigor and or Circular Protection. But these passives can be quite helpful. When you heal yourself or an ally in any way, shape or form, which you will grant yourself major mending if the target is under 40% health. So that increases your healing done if you heal them or you. Technically, if you're using Vigor, you can heal yourself and others. If you're using a single target heal or an AoE frontal heal, remember it only applies to them or you, depending on who gets hit by it. But it's quite nice. Also, that applies to when you recast your pet if you're low health, because it gives you a heal. When you heal an ally with a green balance ability, you can basically ignore that one because we're not using any, but if you do choose to, you can, of course, opt into this. This increases your healing done with green balance abilities. Again, we're not using any. Dump it if you don't need it. And when you activate a heal on yourself or an ally, so you, your pet, or whatever, whoever receives the heal will get minor toughness for 20 seconds, increasing their maximum health by 10% for 20 seconds. Remember, if you double cast Bullnetch or it runs out, you get a heal, giving you this for 20 seconds. There are many different ways to apply this, but of course, basically for us, it's whenever you recast a pet ability to gain a heal, you will benefit from this buff. And that's going to happen throughout your entire rotation. Winter's Embrace is very important if you slot these skills, and sometimes if you don't. So, this increases your chance of applying status effects with a Winter's Embrace ability. We're not using any, so ignore that. It's not important. However, you do want it. Why is that? Because enemies and allies who have recently been chilled take a 10% more crit damage bonus or critical healing. So, if your group have been affected by chilled and you heal them, they can take higher crit heals. If the enemy you're facing has been chilled, you deal more critical damage. But listen very, very carefully to this. So, minor brittle is a side effect of chilled if, and only if, you are holding a frost staff at the time that you apply it. So chilled is a status effect from ice. Basically, it applies minor maim, meaning the enemies do less damage. If you apply that while holding an ice staff, you automatically provide minor brittle. Minor brittle increases the crit damage done to that target from everyone. They stack. However, the dummy does not have chilled applied. It has minor brittle, but it doesn't have the prerequisite to make that. So while it should have chilled to make brittle to allow you to take advantage of this passive, it does not. So if you are a warden and you are testing on the dummy and you don't have chilled present from yourself or a friend, you won't see the potential of your build versus that situation because it is rigged. You cannot get minor brittle without chilled with a frost staff, so it shouldn't be on the dummy. And if it should be on the dummy, chilled should be present. It's very important to note. And of course, we did some tests to show you the difference. If brittle is there, chilled is there, you get this passive. The dummy doesn't show it. This will give you a resistance bonus for each one of these abilities slotted. We have none, so don't worry. This will reduce effectiveness of snares. You are going to want that. And this increases the magic and frost damage you deal by 10%. We're not technically using any magic or frost damage, so you can dump that too. But you definitely want this, and you definitely want the crit bonus damage, because things will be chilled. And if you are using Nature's Bounty in your group, you can almost guarantee this passive. Now, we're using a bow on both bars. The further away you are, the more damage you do. Make sure you're 20 meters maximum, because otherwise your shulks will not reach. But around that area, you're going to get the maximum potential out of your bow skills, including lights and heavy attacks. This increases your crit chance for having a bow. We've got one on both bars. Great. This reduces the cost of bow skills. This, while dealing damage with a light or heavy attack, you will get a 5-second bonus. The 5-second bonus is a 5% increase to damage from the bow skill line. If you stack multiples, it can go up to a maximum of 5 times, giving you a 25% increase to damage overall for all bow hits, light, heavy, or skills. If you fail to light attack within the next 5 seconds of the last one, you will lose the whole bonus. Based on the fact that we're bow on both bars, if you keep up your rotation, this buff will never ever run out. If you can maintain this, the overall setup is going to be very, very effective to you. If you can't maintain it, you need to practice because this is very, very important. Otherwise, most of the setup won't work. And if you dodge roll, we're very evasive. We're a medium armor build. You will increase your speed. Be careful. If you dodge roll too soon to a previous dodge roll, it will cost you more. We're not using any light armor, no heavy armor, full medium. Now there are medium bonuses, of course, if you're active. If you stand still, you're just going to die. We can go over this another time, or you can go over it in your own time, whichever. But the ones you want are, of course, all of them, but we'll quickly glaze over them. This will increase your weapon crit per piece 1. We're in 7, so that's what you get. This will increase your stamina recovery and reduction to cost for stamina-based skills. This will reduce your sneak cost and reduce the radius that you can be detected. This will increase your weapon damage per piece, and this will increase your movement speed and, of course, reduce the cost of dodge roll. You're very agile as a medium armor build. Most people complain that light armor and heavy armor has a plus and minus, and medium doesn't. Medium actually does. The plus and minus to medium is, do you stand still or do you move? It's very punishing in its effects. If you dodge roll and weave and all that kind of stuff, you will benefit from it. But if you stand still, you're going to die. It's as plain and simple as that. Now, Fighters Guild, you are going to need a couple of these. You are going to need Intimidate and Presence, of course, because we are using Fighters Guild abilities. We are using Silver Shards occasionally, and you might want to use Ring of Preservation. If you don't activate them ever and they're just on a bar, sure, you don't need that skill, but I would take it anyway, just in case you press the button. Now, this increases the weapon damage of the skills on your bar from this skill line by 3% per skill. We only have one on the front bar, and we have one on the back bar if we choose to. So it's 3% bonus to weapon damage across the board. However, if you change this to all animal companion skills, that actually ends up as less overall damage. So the combination of 1, 2, 3 animal companion skills giving you a 6% damage bonus overall, alongside 3% weapon damage bonus, actually outplayed any other combination. So full out Fighters Guild is too much of something and not enough of something else. Too much animal companions, same applies. A balance of the two with 1 Fighters Guild and 3 animal companions actually worked out really, really well. Now you are going to want Banish the Wicked. This will give you free ultimate for every kill you get while on this bar. Back bar, of course, if you do have Ring of Preservation, that will apply there too. But most of your kills will be on the front one anyway, so make sure you've always got a Fighters Guild ability on the front so you can take advantage of this passive. If you don't, dump it. But obviously for the build we do. Now, this increases the damage done to undead, Daedra, or whales by 20% for each Fighter's Guild ability that you use. Of course, if you had Beast Trap or whatever, anything that you're using here that does damage will increase by 20% versus those targets. But you're not going to be against them all the time. So if you're not against them very often, you don't need to take it. But if you have got a spare skill point, that will enhance this in big trash balls. Undaunted is next, of course. First of all, if you see a synergy, take it. No matter what it does, it's going to be beneficial to you, and you'll get back health, stamina, and magicka. And of course, we are taking advantage of 2% resources, so stamina, magicka, and health maxed out per type of armor worn. If we wore heavy, light, and medium combined, we would get 6% across the board. If we wore 2 types, it would be 4. If we wear 1 type, it's 2. We are wearing 1 type on purpose to take advantage as much as possible of our medium passives. But if you want to change that, it's entirely up to you. Just bear in mind, of course, this particular build is structured in such a way that the armor sets we're using are medium. If you want the extra bonuses, you'll have to change the sets and you will get different results. We are, of course, a wood elf. Yes, of course. Orc, dark elf, high elf, wood elf, Khajiit, all the races, even Nord that you can think of, were tested. And every single one of them was very, very close. Redguard has such high sustainability while using weapon-based skills that you could basically never run out of resources if your group had constant synergies and buffs and bonuses. And that could hit a very high number. It was really impressive. The Khajiit had nice crits, but failed when it didn't crit. The Orc struggled with sustainability, so you had to heavy attack a lot more. There was lots of different pluses and minuses for why you should or shouldn't pick a certain race. But this increases your movement speed and physical and spell pen. That's a flat bonus, which is very, very nice. This increases your recovery, and this increases your max stam and resistance to disease and poison. So, our flat stats were very, very high. Our penetration was very, very high. Our recovery was very, very high, which meant we can keep up a more consistent rotation without having to heavy attack weave in between occasionally. So it was much, much better. Overall, this performed about 3 or 4k higher than a Khajiit, about 3 or 4k higher than a Red Guard, and about 2 or 3k higher than everything else if you could weave in your heavy attacks here and there. The Wood Elf outperformed everything else for this particular build. Very solid race choice, very quick, very snappy, very fast-paced damage output, quite bursty up front as well. Really, really nice. The choice is yours. There's no right or wrong, but overall, once you got past 90k, this was the one that really shined. So, your choice, of course, but the Wood Elf was very nice. Alchemy, of course, you're going to want a medicinal use. Nearly misspelled that in my face. But medicinal use, you need to make sure, of course, you use your potions as much as possible. Potions are consumable buffs. Don't leave them there hanging. Use them. This will make sure they last 47 seconds instead of 37, and the cooldown is 45 seconds. So there is a 2-second gap there where your buff is consistently running even though you can apply another potion. Don't let them run out. Use them as soon as they are available. They will help you. Now we're going to get into the gear. Do not panic. If you've used this a lot in the past, there have been multiple updates. It was one of the most original bow builds available. But don't worry, we've got this covered. So, Master's Bow on the front, Maelstrom Bow on the back. Masters, because if you apply Poison Injection, which is inside our rotation, you will have 10 seconds worth of 330 extra weapon damage. And that doesn't show in your stats. It's versus the target. So each target that has Poison Injection will effectively increase all your damage by that amount. And the back bar increases the strength of your volley, aka Endless Hail or Arrow Barrage. And it gets really aggressive. Now, precise on the front for the extra crit chance with poisons, double dot poisons in fact. And infuse on the back with weapon and spell damage glyph, because infuse will allow you to constantly fire that glyph on cooldown even if you're on the front bar. This is why you need to clean up your rotation. If you're not very good with it, go Endless Hail, not Arrow Barrage. We are using, I'm going to say this right for once in my videos, Zogvin's helmet and shoulders. This is not set in stone. You can change this to any piece because they're all medium. But we're using a 3 jewelry as well. Bloodthirsty on everything, with weapon damage on them all. And the body pieces are Reliquin. You can use regular or perfected. Now, Zogvin. I said it wrong already. Zogvin's, I never get that right, has crit bonuses plus pen bonus, and if you deal critical damage, which you will consistently stack bonuses. Now, if you stack it up to 10, you will get minor force, increasing all of your crit damage by 10%. And this crit bonus will persist, so keep it up. Your Hawkeye passive requires you to fire a light attack once every 5 seconds in order to keep up the 25% damage bonus. If you do that, this will stay with you. And also, the second set is fired exactly the same. Reliquin will give you a crit bonus twice, plus Minor Slayer. The stamina bonus is only if you have perfected. If you don't have perfected, you lose 1 stam bonus. It's not the end of the world. But your light and heavy attacks apply a stack of winds, which does a substantial amount of damage. But if you stop light attacking for a full 5 seconds, the stacks will stop stacking, which cap at 10 by the way, and you will lose it all. So, if you want your Hawkeye bonus for your overall skill plus damage, make sure you keep up your light attacks. If you want the wins from Reliquin, make sure you keep up your light attacks. And if you want the crit damage bonus and the crit chance from Zogfins, keep up your light attacks. Even inside mechanics, if you have to move around lots and lots and lots, you can't maintain your rotation, keep up your lights, because when you come back into it, it's going to make a lot more sense. You're going to maintain those buffs and still hit hard. Now, there will be an option for crafted set on the website. You can use acuity on the front, and there are several options for what you can use on the back, or the main body pieces, but it's entirely up to you. Essentially, acuity on the front and in 3 pieces elsewhere, but that will be more explained there. Essentially, this is the optimized version of the build, and you can get this on normal. You can get Zogvins on normal, you can get Reliquin on normal, you can get Maelstrom on normal, you can get Masters on normal. It's not the end of the world if you don't have the perfected types. In fact, you'll still hit very, very hard with the basic ones. Now it's time for champion points, and these are very, very simple. Now, all these white or yellowy glowy ones, you will eventually unlock them all. That is set in stone. Even halfway through your champion points, you will unlock them all. But it's a case of what slottables do you choose. So, you will need 10 point in precision to unlock the crit chance bonus to unlock this tree. Then you will need 10 points here in piercing to unlock this tree. And all you need to do is aim for backstabber and fighting finesse, deadly aim, and thaumaturge. Get all of those, make sure you maintain your position behind the target, and you will benefit from them all the time. Now, if you're up against a dragon or you can't stay behind the target, backstab is going to be no good for you. In which case, you want to go with the open slottable over here, which is, where's it gone? Untamed Aggression. This will increase your weapon and spell damage for all of the stuff that you do. Light attacks, heavy attacks, skills, the lot. So you can swap this for this. But if most of the time you're behind the target, you're good with these. Red tree is very simple. Usually you have to unlock loads of other stuff to unlock things, but we don't. There's no path to unlock. There's this, this, and this. Nice and simple. Health bonus, armor bonus, recovery bonus. Now you do have to unlock these, however. Start here at Tumbling with 15 points. Go here with another 10, and here with another 10. Yes, of course, you can max them out in your own time. They do benefit you, but you want the slottables. You can only slot 4 from each tree at a time. You want to get those as soon as possible. And this is incredible. This will give you stamina back. 1,500 stamina, in fact, for each kill you get. Big AoE pulls, lots and lots of stamina back. Single targets, it helps nonetheless. So make sure you get those 4 slottables. The green tree is up to you. You don't have any rules for this. Most of them can't be used in content or combat. They're quality of life. But what I would suggest is that you get the armpit buff, because if you haven't realized, it's in the armpit. This will give you higher quality loot from chests, which you find in dungeons and trials. This will make your food last longer, which you use in dungeons and trials. This will have a chance to not even consume a potion or poison when you use them. And this will make you run faster when you're not in a fight. Spoiler, when you're not in a fight, you're running to the next one. Speed run. Now the rotation is very simple. You have volley on the ground, light attack flies, light attack subterranean, swap bars. 3 skills, light attack between each. Very simple. On the front bar, you need to do 5 light attack lethal arrows and then 1 light attack poison injection and swap. Initially, when you first start the fight, you should get your dots down. Light attack flies, light attack subterranean, light attack poison injection to start with, just to initiate that 330 extra weapon damage versus the target. But the rest of the fight, it is literally this. Volley, light flies, light subterranean. 1, 2, 3, 4, poison injection, swap. 1, 2, 3, swap, snipe light, snipe light, snipe light, snipe light, snipe poison, swap bars, volley, light flies, light subterranean, and so on and so forth. You just keep doing that over and over and over and over. Obviously the damage numbers are not accurate right now because I was already in content, or combat rather, with the dummy, so that's not clean at all. But that's all you do. Ground dot, light flies, light subterranean, swap bars. Light snipe or lethal arrow, whatever you want to call it, 5 times. Light poison injection swap bars. If your pet is ready, you just fire the pet instead of 1 snipe. You replace it. So if we want to go for burst damage, I mean, we can go with that. So we'll start with volley, subterranean, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Swap bars. Use the pet whenever you are not using a snipe because he's ready now. Hit him. 1, 2, 3, 4. We use 4 instead of 5 because we use the bear. And then maintain it. The light attack must hit. Never fail it because otherwise you will lose your Hawkeye, you will lose your Zogvins, and you will lose your Reliquin as well. Now the pet is ready. Never fire it on the back bar because you want to get the most out of it out the front. You just replace 1 snipe with it. As you can see at the moment, I'm consistently sitting around sort of 83 to 85k DPS depending on the bar I'm on. And once you get into the rotation fully and you start really hitting hard at low execute and all that kind of stuff, that's when it really starts to kick in. And just bear in mind at the moment, we're halfway into the fight. It doesn't even fucking count. From beginning to end, you're looking at numbers like this. Bear in mind, of course, chilled is not on the target. Minor Brittle is, which comes from chilled, but for some stupid reason, chilled is not on the dummy. So you won't get the crit damage bonus that you should get for Brittle being there in the first place. We did demonstrate that a little bit later, as you can see here. The difference is not that much, maybe 2 or 3k, but you're looking at a consistent, very consistent average of between 91 to 94, sometimes 95k DPS out of a very consistent spamming while keeping a couple of dots up bow rotation. Just bear in mind, you must stay at range as much as possible. No more than 20 meters because your Shulks won't reach. Any closer, your bow will start doing less damage. How you apply that is up to you, but in content, this works very, very well. Now it's time for fashion. Now we're using a very ninja-esque outfit for this. We're actually using the Outlaw Helmet, which is a heavy. We are using the Pirewatch Curious, which is also a heavy. And we are using Night Hollow Arm Cops, Night Hollow Gauntlets, Blackreach Vanguard Sash, because it's got that kind of weird logo on the belt, which is quite cool. Night Hollow Greaves, which is heavy again. Night Hollow Sabatons, and we're using a Night Hollow Bow on the front and a Frostcaster Bow on the back to keep it a bit wardeny. Now, bear in mind, of course, your glyphs and everything are set in stone, but if you do want to take off your poisons off your front bar, maybe you can't afford to keep using them, you can change that for a frost glyph if you like, and that can sometimes apply chill to increase your crit damage, but that should be applied anyway because in content, if you have Minor Brittle, you should have chilled because that's impossible to apply it without it. The dummy, like I've said in many videos, is rigged. So, hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. If you are solo, of course, your bear does take some of the aggro, but not always. You are going to have to adapt to the situation, but this does work in solo arenas. I have used it in them. I have annihilated stuff in there, but you do have to adapt to the playstyle. So a bit more agile than most, but it hits very, very hard. Anyway, first of all, thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate support. If you are not subscribed on YouTube, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website zonagaming.com, and of course, don't forget I live stream every night from 10 PM UK time, except for Wednesdays on Twitch. Once again, thank you for watching. This is the last video for the Flames of Ambition DLC. Everything else will be updated in the next 5 or 6 days on the website. Yes, they've been tested. Yes, they're being updated. Unfortunately, we ran out of time for videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.